Hello and welcome to this edition of The Big Story. The big story that we are breaking here, the first of them, is in the battle to secure coal linkages for the power sector. It seems that the Power Ministry has blinked first. Sharing exclusive details, sources have told Bloomberg TV that the Power Ministry has finally thrown in the towel and has accepted a much reduced coal supply agreement with Coal India Limited. Mehak Kasbekar is joining us now with all those details. Mehak, a pretty big move this, because this has been, of course, perhaps the most talked about development over the last few months.
Well, absolutely. Let me start by saying that the writing is on the wall for power developers. Let me tell you that there is absolutely no way, as we are breaking this story and what we've picked up from sources, that Coal India will be able to sign fuel supply agreements at 80% of the letter of assurance, even after the Prime Minister's office stepped in and a presidential directive that came in for telling them to do so. In a meeting last week, it has been decided that Coal India just can't sign that. And that's the reason why the Power Ministry is now saying, let's take a look at what can be done with the existing production targets or production that Coal India has. What we picked up is this, that CIL had put on the table that they are willing to sign fuel supply agreements at 60% of the letter of assurance. However, the Power Ministry has now sent back a proposal to Coal India and the Coal Ministry saying that we are willing to sign this at 65%. That is a come down from that 80% that everybody or the government was really pushing for. However, that's not all. There are other criteria around it. What the Power Ministry has said is that if we are willing to sign at 65%, however, you will have to import the difference that you cannot make up. So you'll have to make up by importing coal on that letter of assurance. That is something which is on the table at the moment. What's more, the Power Ministry has gone one step ahead, saying that if you import coal for the power developers, we are willing to push through pooling of coal prices. Now remember, pooling of coal prices was something which was in the fine print of the Prime Minister's office meeting that took place in February for the fuel supply agreements, and this is something again that the Power Ministry now is pushing for, going one step ahead, saying we'll help you do that, and if we sign FSAs at 65%. There's more in this. The Prime Minister's office, in fact, has sent a letter now to the Coal Ministry saying that they want answers. They've asked the Coal Ministry and CIL officials to meet them on 22nd of June. What is on the agenda? It's a 9-point agenda, of which the main things that will be discussed is the fuel supply status agreements and why they haven't been signed, the penalty clause and whether it can be diluted, and of course the very important production estimates, for which there was a meeting that took place yesterday in the capital and in which we had the Coal Minister come out and say that he is hopeful now of achieving those production targets of Coal India. He's made that meeting instead of once in 2 months, now monthly he will be taking that Coal India meeting. That's how closely he'll be tracking it, because the Prime Minister's office pressure is on production. The PMO will be asking some very tough questions on June 22nd. But as far as the Power Ministry is concerned, they are now looking at a middle path of signing those fuel supply agreements at 65% of letter of assurance.
All right, Mehak, stay in with us. We've also got Ashish Sethia of Bloomberg New Energy Finance, who's joining us on the line from New Delhi. Ashish, you've been listening in. How would you look at this entire issue, the way it's panning out? In one way, it's good that the Power Ministry is actually, blinking or actually trying to find a solution to this. But on the other hand, you've got the power producers who are likely to suffer because of this.
I think, the fact that when 80% was asked as a minimum guaranteed supply, a lot of people thought that it might not be possible. So there was some kind of an expectation that it might be reduced to an extent. That said, I think what is also happening is there are two significant players in the power sector who have taken a view that in the long term availability of coal will not be as high as planned in the last 5 or 6 years. And those people include both the lenders or the banks which provide the debt to these massive power projects, but also the project developers themselves. So, I think we have heard in the news a couple of days back that even domestic producers like NTPC are trying to scale back their plans on coal availability. So a combination of this issue in the long run means that there will be some re-estimation of how much coal power we can produce based on the supply we have.
Ashish, if I may ask you a question, the burning question really here is, we had a meeting in February where there were officials, many meetings in January and February that the Prime Minister's office took, where estimates of production of Coal India got discussed, and on the basis of it, the PMO came to the conclusion that CIL can sign at 80% of the assured amount. What do you think has really changed in these last 3 months for the Coal India board to turn around now and say that it's just not possible? What could have just happened in these 3 months for something like this to come down to 60 or 65%?
It's a combination of factors. So the first thing you might look at is that Coal India might give an argument saying, look, our production is probably keeping pace with, to a certain extent, with the demand, but there are other infrastructure bottlenecks. For example, there is not enough rake capacity to transport the coal to the power stations. And in fact, I think very recently Coal India has also given a one-time offer to power producers saying, you are free to lift coal from our coal mines at pit heads because there's almost 60 million tons lying there, which they cannot transport. So that's one kind of an issue. The other kind of issue is that, Coal India would have also kind of assumed that because the Prime Minister's office was directing this whole exercise, maybe, the issue of environmental clearances to new mines would be taken care of pretty fast compared to in the past. So, that probably is not happening at that fast pace as well. So there is a climb down on that front as well. The third issue could also be that if you look at the short-term cycles of coal production in the country, specifically at Coal India, coal production kind of increases from the September period and peaks at around March, and then it comes down again, from March till June. So you are now in the cycle post-March when historically Coal India has had a falling production in the yearly cycle. So these are kind of, the 3 or 4 factors which could have led to this reduction.
All right, Ashish. All right, Ashish, we leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us and sharing your perspective. Well, that was that crucial development and that story coming in as far as the power sector is concerned. But coming up after this break, we get you another exclusive. Looks like there have been no takers for fundraising via the ECB route, which